Hi everyone, it's Julie Golding Page, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, along the tidal Scudig or St. Croix River, the traditional territory of the Passamaquoddy. And I'm so grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. I'm here today to show you a project using the beautiful returning set in our annual catalog, which is called Sweetest Cherries, and I'm going to be using the punch and also going to be using some blending brushes and decorative masks to make a nice background for it. So I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek of that right now so that you can see. So I'm going to flip my camera for you. And here you go. So here is the project that we're going to be doing today. So here's the card. And I hope you'll enjoy this particular one. So you can see here's the decorative mask that I'm going to be using. And we will get to that very, very shortly. But for now, I'm just going to move these items out of the way and tell you a little bit of stamping news that we have coming up right now. There's always something new going on, it seems. And that is great because it keeps us all interested and just makes it so much nicer for us too. So let me show you some of the news here. So first of all, how to find me online. You can find me at www.juliescraftaddict.com. I'm always making something new and I post a new design almost every day for a card. As you can see, I've been busy. Here's a little piece of stuff that I was working with earlier. And if you would like to order with me, I'd be delighted to help you out. My host code is 3J3KUUDT, and I will be including a link right here to show you how to get to that and how to use that link right in your purchase online. And I'm going to show you what using that link will actually get you because it gets you some free stuff. So here is my card of the month for May, and I just posted this on my website, the same area, juliescraftaddict.com, yesterday. So that is the one that is up right now. If you're watching this video on Tuesday, then that will be what you will see as a design if you go to my website. And what I do when you use a host code and order with me or sign up for a class, I send you the pieces to make this. So all you have to do is add whatever stamp you want. I've used this Hello Ladybug stamp, and that's from the same set there. So you add the ink and the stamps, but I give you all the rest of the pieces so you can put it together. So I'm happy to send that to you and to help you get going in your crafting as well. I find if I have something to get started, it makes a big difference rather than a blank page. So that is going to be the card of the month, the free pieces you receive when you purchase from me. And also, I will send you my free tutorial bundle. So this uses the 2023 to 2025 in colors. So the brand new colors, and as you can see, there's quite a variety in the designs here. This one's mine, so that's a little sneak peek of mine. And this will give you some ideas as to how to use these brand new colors. And as you can see here, the demonstrators involved in this tutorial bundle come from Canada, like me, and the USA, and also Australia. So it's all around the Stampin' Up! World. So I hope that you'll enjoy that as well. And now I'd like to tell you about my color club. So you can register for a color club. Many of us are aware that Stampin' Up! Refreshed all of its colors just with this release of the new catalog earlier this month. And that means that there are a lot of brand new colors. So that's really exciting, but it can also be an expensive enterprise to kind of replace your colors or add to your colors. So I designed this way to collect the new colors on a budget. So you can choose from the Core Color Club, which has 10 new colors. You get 2 ink pads per month, plus some coordinating paper as well. Or you can join the In Color Club, 5 new colors. You'll get 1 per month of the ink pads, and you'll also get the Stampin' Blends that match with those, and some coordinating paper too. So if you're interested in those, please check out www.juliescraftaddict.com, and there is a tab there that says Color Clubs, and you can check into that and see how to join. So I will be accepting new people to join these color clubs through, I think I put December. So whatever month you start in, it'll be 5 months from then. So you get 5 months in a row, and then you collect all the colors in your particular club. Okay, so let's go on to classes, because this is actually the last week to sign up for my July classes. This one actually is in June, and right now there are a lot of shipping delays, so we have to advertise way, way ahead. And how it works is if you buy a class packet from me, I will send for the supplies from Stampin' Up. Then I have to prepare them and cut all the pieces for you and so forth, and package them up and send them out to you. So usually I send them to people about 2 weeks ahead of when the class is. That's what my deadline is, so that they can reach people across the country. So if you don't get anything from me right away, don't worry. It's going to be 2 weeks ahead of the class date itself, just because of all the shipping that has to go along with that. So this particular class is a confetti birthday kit that we're going to do in June. And if you've ever wanted to try one of these shaker cards, these are just spectacular, and they will really impress your friends and relatives. And this time you can get them done very easily with a kit. And so I would really recommend this particular kit if you want some fancy birthday cards for people coming up. And also, if you've never tried stamping before, but you think it looks really interesting, a kit is the perfect way to try, because you don't have to invest very much money. Everything you need comes right in the kit. Even the adhesives are already there, the ink, everything. And so you can really try it on a budget and just see if it's for you. So I really like these kits. I think it's a fantastic idea. So that's the Confetti Birthday Kit class, and you can find all my classes at www.juliescraftaddict.com. And I have another class that's coming up. This one is going to be a Christmas in July Fun Folds class. So we're going to be doing 3 different cards in this particular class, and they'll all be fun folds. So this one has a band around the middle that we've constructed. And then you can open it up, and it's got all these pieces. And then you can take out the little sentiment here. You can stamp on that as well if you want. And you can decorate up the other parts of it as well if you'd like to. You can see it's got all of these different panels, and it's just a really nice way to kind of expand your horizons in crafting to make one of these lovely Fun Folds classes. And it's nice to do a Christmas in July class. I did this last year, and it was quite fun. While it was sweltering outside, we were all looking at Christmas stuff, and it was just a lot of fun to do that and to kind of think different thoughts in the middle of summer. So that class closes this week as well. And again, you can find it at www.juliescraftaddict.com. And this is the set we're going to be using. So this can be used for Christmas. As you can see, it has Merry Christmas, Love and Warmth, and the poinsettia flowers. But it also has all these other things. So you can use it really any time of year. So it's one of those really nice, versatile stamp sets. But as with any class you take from me, you can buy the featured stamp set like this, or you can use something from your own stash. It's all up to you. What I send you is the packets made up with all the pieces that you need, and then you can decide what you want to stamp on them. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. And I have one more class coming up. So this class is going to be using the new suite called Beautiful Balloons. That's the bundle name, Beautiful Balloons. And here's one of the sneak peeks of a sample card. So we're using the Bright and Beautiful paper, which is really fantastic. I like this because I think it suits just about everyone. Some of the designs are really bright. Some have many colors. Some only have a few. And I think it will just appeal to pretty much everyone. And that's a really nice kind of paper to have. So we're going to be using some of that in the class. And you can see the back sides of them are typically kind of more monochromatic. And that's really useful too. So that's going to be one of the classes. And here is the Beautiful Balloons stamp set. And I really like this set because you can do so much with these balloons and they just look so festive. But at the same time, if you'd rather use one of your own stamp sets, please do. You don't have to use this set at all. Oh, and one more thing is we're going to be coloring ribbon. So you can kind of see I took this white ribbon and we've turned it to Bubble Bath, which is this brand new pink that has come out from Stampin' Up. Okay, so I think that's all the news for right now. There was quite a bit of it really, and I think we'll go on to our project. So here is our completed card, which is very cute. And I wanted to use these decorative masks because in the rest of the scrapbooking and paper crafting world, there's all kinds of stencils right now, and Stampin' Up! Has them too. So here are a few of them. So there's this one that has kind of this floral pattern. There's this one that has like labels that you can make. This one as well. This almost looks kind of like southern Spain or maybe Middle Eastern. And then you've got these squares. So lots of different ones. And these are from the pack called Artistic Mix Decorative Masks. So you get a bunch of them in one package, and they're very reasonably priced. So you get a bunch at once. And this is the one we're going to use today. So I really like this one. I thought that it would look almost like a tablecloth behind it. And so that's why I wanted to use this particular one. So we are going to start by making our panel. So we're going to make this background panel. So I'll just put that up so you can see it. So this background panel was made with blending brushes and one of these decorative masks. So that's what we're going to do first. So what I'd suggest for this is that you cut your piece of paper bigger than you need it to be, because you'll want to be able to tape it down. So what I'm going to do right now is tape it onto the desk here. So I'm just using a little bit of washi tape that I have. I'm going to line it up in the grid marks just so I know that I'm getting it straight, because my mask that I'm using has grid marks as well. So I want to make sure that I don't have them all kind of wonky. Not that that would matter too much, but I'd rather have them straight for this. So I'm just going to use my tape, and we're going to tape this down. And then we will start. So let me just tape the other side here. I'm just trying to tape the very edge so I don't use too much of the paper for the tape, but just enough to kind of hold it down a little bit. I think I'll put one on the top as well, just to make sure that it's going to stay very solid. And that will be great. Okay, so I've got that on. Now I'm going to line this up on my grid as well. Again, so that I can have the lines straight. And I wouldn't do this and make all this fuss if I were going to just use a pattern that didn't have lines. But when you have lines that you're working with, it can kind of look a little funny if everything is turning out crooked. But you could also cut it when you're done too to make it less crooked. So there's almost always a fix. So that's all right. Okay, so let's tape this down. I just like to tape it down solidly. And then I also hold it with my hand too, just to make sure, because you don't want it to move while you're working with it. So I'm going to use one of the brand new colors, which is Pecan Pie. And here we go. So I've got that, and I've got an old blending brush that I had around. So I'm just going to kind of ink this up. Maybe I'll put it over here. I think that would be more natural. And I'm just going to tap it off to see how much color that is. And I'm going to start off the side and then just start blending in. So we'll just make sure that we don't get any big blobs of ink. That's why I'm tapping off. Okay. So let's see. So tap it off a little bit more. And I'm always starting just off the edge of the paper so it doesn't get a big blob in the middle of the paper. I find that that really helps. And I'm going in circles the whole way. If you've never used one of these blending brushes before, it's super simple, and a circular motion just gives you a much smoother appearance when you're done. And I'm just starting off the edge every time and working my way to the middle. So I'm just going with kind of a medium hand here. It depends if you want the color to be really light or really dark or something in between. And I'm kind of working for something in between, so I'm just going to keep going till I cover the whole thing. And then we'll see how it turns out. So if you're watching today, I'd love to hear where you're watching from and whether you enjoy using these masks. Have you ever tried these before? Because I think they offer a lot of different opportunities. You can basically make your own decorative paper with them in any color, because sometimes you have things that don't really match the color of your papers that you have on hand. And this is a great way to make your own, and then it will match whatever you want because it can be any color you like. Uses minimal amount of ink, just basic white cardstock that you get from Stampin' Up! And it's such a smooth cardstock that they make that this ink applies very nicely to it. And there we go. I think that's pretty much done. And just a word about the blending brushes in terms of how to care for them. If you are always going to use the same color in your brushes, I have a number of brushes and I keep them for each color, so you can kind of see here. That one's got purples and mauves. This one's got blues on it. This one's got browns. If you just use them for the same colors all the time, all you have to do is just kind of circle them on your paper afterwards and just get that excess color out, and you can just keep using them. You don't have to wash them. But if you do need to use them for a different color, what you would do is just run them under warm water until you see the colors all running out. You can kind of go back and forth with your finger on them or your thumb. And then when you want to dry them though, and you'll want to dry them thoroughly, just dry them like this. So you put them head down onto your paper. That's so that all the water comes out and comes out of the brush. If you store them this way to dry, all the water pools inside the brush. So that doesn't really work so well. So just put them on a cloth this way with the head down, and that works. Okay, so I'm going to take this off, and there are different ways you can clean your masks. What I would suggest is either use a baby wipe if you want to do that, or my favorite way is actually not that, because baby wipes have fibers in them and sometimes they get stuck in all these little crevices, and then you get these fibers that you're working with and kind of can mess up the look of what you're doing. So what I prefer to do is just run them underwater until the water's clean. It just takes a minute. And then I just put them down on a cloth until they're fully dried. And so that's how I like to do it. It's very simple to clean them up because all these inks are water-based. So it's really no trouble. Okay, so let's lift this off. And we will move our little pieces of paper here, our little tapes. We'll peel that off. Okay, so you can see why I made this a little bigger. The tape was in the way of the blending brush there, and we're just going to cut that piece off, so it won't make any difference at all. So I started with, let's see, how big was this? It was 4.25 by 5.5. So I gave myself quite a bit of extra space because this one, the panel that we want to cut it down to, is actually only 3.75 by 5. So just make it a little bit bigger so you can cut off the excess if you need to. And I'm going to do that right now. So let's see. So we need 3.75. And let's just cut off a little bit first, because I want to cut off from both sides, I think, not just one. Okay, there's a little piece off. Let's turn it the other way. And we'll cut a little more, so we'll make it 3.75. There, so it's kind of uniform a little bit, at least on both sides. So I didn't want a white space on either side, so that's why I did it that way. And you can see there's another little white bit here, so we're going to take that off, and we need it to be 5. So let's see if 5 All right, let's cut maybe there. Let's try that. And how do we do? Okay, we need to cut off just a little bit more. All right, so there we go. There's our little panel that we made. So that will be great. And now we can proceed with the rest of our cards. So we've got our whole panel made with the decorative mask. And again, if you missed the name of them and you're looking for them, they're called Artistic Mix Decorative Masks. And I will have a full supply list and everything, all the instructions with all the measurements and everything here later today by lunchtime Atlantic time, so that you can find all these things later if you want to. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that panel made with the brand new pecan pie color that I like so much, and I'm going to put it on a pecan pie panel. So I'm just going to use my stamp and seal for this. Whoops, I got to roll it up so it'll work. That would help. And then we're going to adhere that right to the panel. So I'll put it that way. And here we go. Okay, so that's very simple. All right, now we need to do some more stamping here. So one more thing we need to do with this pecan pie is stamp on here. But before we can do that, we need to actually do some die cutting. So I used these scalloped contours dies, which I've used a whole lot. They're really, really useful. They do coordinate with a stamp set. As you can see, there's flowers, but I use these rectangles all the time for so many things. So I'm going to use the middle-sized one right here. And we're going to cut that out of basic white cardstock, and then we're going to stamp on it. So here's the mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. We're going to dig that out. And we are going to put the plates in. So if you haven't done this before, the plates come with the full instructions. Oops, I'm just going to move my other equipment here so I have room. So plate number 1, it says place die cutting edge down. So that's useful. So you can feel the die cutting edge there. It's not sharp, but it's definitely different than the smooth edge on the other side. So it says to put a plate number 1. So we have plate number 1. Then you need 2 plates number 2, your die and your paper. So there's plate number 1. Here's a plate number 2. And here's our paper and our die. And you can use some washi to just keep that in place if you need. But since there's only one die that I'm putting through, I think that'll stay in pretty well. And a tip with this little mini machine is stand up when you put your items through it and push down with one hand or the other, depending on which one is your dominant hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my left hand to push down and my right hand to crank it through. That just gives you more stability while you're putting it through. Okay, I'm going to put my little machine out of the way. And that machine is a great one. I take it to the cottage. It's good for crops. It's just great because you can take it on the road so easily. You can even take it in your luggage if you go away somewhere because it's so small. I'll just show you. It's only that big. You can see with my hands here, it's really, really small. Okay, so we've got our little scalloped rectangle. So that's perfect. So I'll dig out my old piece of cardboard here because we are using photopolymer stamps, so we need a cushion underneath. The red rubber stamps come with a cushion, a foam built right into them, but these photopolymer ones do not, as you can see. And you can see I used them with a whole bunch of inks here. Sometimes it'll stain them like this. So I used Stays On ink and that didn't come off. And these ones have red, but it doesn't affect the performance of the stamps in any way. Just mostly the reds and the purples will kind of stay on them, but other ones will come off. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to move this actually first, and I'm going to place my stamps right on the block so that I know exactly where they are. I'm lining them up with the grid underneath so that I can see that they are straight. Okay, let's see if we can get that one. And then we'll just look through to see if it's straight here. Okay, I gotta get right on top of it so I can tell. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So you can actually put 2 stamps on at once if you want to give yourself kind of fewer steps and to make sure that they're where you want them. So I'm gonna see if that's gonna fit there. Yeah, it looks like it should. Okay, I'm gonna stamp right above it here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to use pecan pie. And part of the reason I'm using this is to match, of course. And the other reason, though, is this is a brand new ink pad. And when you have a solid word like this that has a lot of area to cover, a really juicy ink pad will give you a much better result. And I'll also show you a fix for it if it doesn't work out as well as I want it to. So I'm just going to put it repeatedly in the ink pad because I want it very inky before I do this. Okay, so let's try our luck here and hope for the best. The good thing about stamping is it's only paper, and you can always do it again if it doesn't turn out to your liking. So I'm just going to push it down for a few seconds. Give the ink lots of time to transfer into that paper, especially because of that word sweet that has such a lot of ground to cover. And let's see how it worked. Okay, well that worked really well actually. That looks great. Okay, the first time that I did this, it wasn't quite as good a result as that on my sample card. And what I did though was I filled in anywhere that was sort of a little bit light or white with a marker. So I have the coordinating Stampin' Blends. These are alcohol markers. And I have dark and light pecan pie. So what I used was the dark version of it, and I just filled in wherever it was kind of light. But this one really stamped very nicely, so I'm not going to need to do that this time. But that's just a little quick fix that you can use if you need to. Okay, so we've got all of our pecan pie bits stamped now. So now we have to stamp our stems. Actually, those are pecan pie too. And Poppy Parade for the cherries, and Granny Apple Green for the leaves. So we are going to use this big piece of paper, so we'll have lots of room to punch, because we're going to use this nice little cherry punch. So it's a cherry builder punch, and I really like this one. It's very simple to use. And so we are going to start by making the leaves. So I'm going to open up this one, which is Granny Apple Green ink. And I'm going to use the Sweetest Cherries stamp set, which hopefully comes with leaves. I'm going to get them all out right now. So I'll get the leaves out. I will get the stem out. And I will get cherry. So there's a cherry. Okay. So let's see. Let's do the leaves first. All right. Okay. All right, so there's a leaf. And that is actually not a mistake in the leaf, those white bits. These are called distinctive stamps, and they actually give you kind of the look of the real thing. Rather than having it all solid, they'll kind of have some gradations in it. So you just pop this thing at the bottom. If you couldn't see that on camera, I'll do that again. So to use your punch, you just pop that up so it opens it. And then I'm going to put this, oops, I've got the wrong orientation here. Okay, I think I actually should have stamped it the other way. It would have been better. But, okay, maybe I'll do it again, actually. Here, I'll flip that over. So I want it to, okay, I want it to match that one so I can punch it on the edge. So that's what I'll do. So we'll do that one again. You can just always flip it over like that if you didn't get what you wanted the first time. Okay, so this way I will punch it out here. All right, there's a leaf. And I'm going to do another one. And this time, I think I want it again the same way, actually. So I'll just do another one the same. So here we go, and we'll punch it out. And I prefer to punch them out one at a time like this because I find it can be tricky to space things out appropriately with a punch. So it's easier to just kind of stamp and punch, in my opinion. But if you found an easy way to do it so you can stamp all at once and then punch all at once, let us know in the comments. This is the way that works best for me, but everybody has kind of their own tricks. Now we're going to use Poppy Parade. And we're going to do those cherries. So let's see. I want to really ink this up well. I want it to be a very nice dark image, as even as we can get it. So I'm going to hold that down. And let's see what we get. Oh, very nice. That looks good. Okay, so we'll punch that out right away. Here's our little cherry. Okay, and we'll do one more because we need two of them. So we'll ink it up really well again. And let's see. I'll hold that down. And then hopefully we'll get a nice even image again. Oh yes, very nice. Okay, perfect. So we'll punch that out. I'm just going to line it up a little bit there. Okay. And then we need to do one more, and that is the stems. So we're going to use this pecan pie again. And it's so nice to use this new brown. I really like this one. I think I like the name of it as much as anything because it just makes me think about pie. I don't know about you, but I think pie is one of the best desserts there is. So I'm very happy to think about pie anytime. Except for it makes me hungry and makes me want to eat pie, which maybe isn't the best thing, but oh well. You gotta live a little, right? Okay, so let's line that up really well. Okay, so there's a stem. And you can see with that one, there was a lot of punching around the edges of it, and so that's why I just like to punch one at a time. And then I can punch another one beside it. Okay, there's another one. And that is the end of our stamping. So I'm going to just close this up. And here we go. We're going to punch that out. Just line it up nicely. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay. So out of this big long piece of paper, you can see how much it used actually. This is just a scrap anyway, but you do want to allow enough space so that you can punch all the items out sufficiently. So that would be my tip there, is just make sure you have a big enough piece of paper that you're not punching over top of your other images, and just punch them one at a time and then they work out nicely. Okay, so to put this punch together again, we just press it down, pull down the little button, and now it's all together again. So that is the Cherry Builder punch. Very, very nice punch. And actually, it works really well even without the stamp set. I've made cards with it where I just used red, green, and brown cardstock, and it looks fantastic. So you don't even need the stamp set if you don't want it for making cards that have cherries. Okay, so here we go. We've got all these pieces now. I'm going to put them on the white paper so we can see them better. And now it's time to assemble this whole thing. So let's get out our panel that we made with our decorative mask. And we're going to just assemble all of this. So the first thing I did was I took this scalloped rectangle and I flipped it over and put some dimensionals on there. So we're going to do that. I like to put them at the four corners and one in the middle, because then it doesn't kind of sag in the middle, especially if you're mailing it. the pressure of other mail in the person's bag really presses down on the cards in the middle, and they can be kind of weird when you get them if you don't have this pop up in the middle as well. Okay, do I want it that way or do I want it that way? No, I think I want it this way. Okay, so we will put that helpfully. This has a grid, so we can kind of put it inside the little grid there. We'll put it there. And now we need to put on the cherries. So what I did to make the cherries before was I used the multi-purpose liquid glue, and I just put a little tiny dot on the back of the stem and then stuck the stem on. So it really doesn't take very much. You just need a very small amount here. Yeah, so that is it. I will show you. That's all I put, just a tiny, tiny amount. And then you can kind of arrange the stem however you want it on the cherry. And it'll dry pretty quickly. We're going to do the other one the same thing. All right, there's a little dot on there. And we'll stick that right on. I really like this glue. I use that fine tip all the time. It does have a broad tip at the bottom, kind of like the glue we used to have in elementary school, when I was in school at least. But I really only ever use this fine tip, and I find it works for the tiniest little things, even like these. Oh, I shouldn't have put it away. We got to put on the leaves too. Okay, so let's put on the leaves. And whoops, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Just put a little dot there. Okay. And that's going to hold it on. Okay, so very, very little is required. You don't need much. There, make sure I got it lined up nicely there. I think I got it over the edge just a little, so I'm going to adjust that. It's also very forgiving if you need to move something. So I just moved that a little bit, and now it's all stuck on very nicely. And then we are going to put the other one on as well. So let's put another little dot there, not much. So I'll show you just a little tiny bit there. And so we're going to just arrange it like that. And then you can adjust it with this liquid glue. It's just very good for adjustments, and it'll still stick for you. So there we go. Now there's our two cherries all done. Very little fuss. And now we're going to put them onto our card. So we'll just see what's going to look good here. So let's just kind of arrange them a little bit. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, so what I did to stick these other ones on is I used some mini glue dots underneath this part to stick it to the white. And then I used a dimensional under each leaf. And that's all that's holding them on. It really doesn't require very much. So that's what we'll do again. So here's my little mini glue dots. These are the best thing. I really love these. We use these all the time for all kinds of things. They're such good adhesives, and they're not just for crafts, that's for sure. Okay, and we'll just put a little, maybe a mini dimensional underneath there. So one of these mini dimensionals. You get 720 of them in a pack. So lots and lots of them. I'm going to put that underneath there. And we'll stick that on. Okay. And then we'll put another mini glue dot here on this one. Just like that. I love that they're so easy to use. My daughter, who's 11, has been using them for several years too, because she knows what to do with them. And they're super simple. And I'll just put this little mini dimensional on there first this time. And let's arrange that. So it'll be a little different arrangement than the last one, but that's okay. Every card is unique, so you can make it as different as you want. So I'm just going to move that over a little bit past the edge. There we go. And then the final thing before we embellish is to take this basic white thick cardstock. So I'm using the thicker cardstock, not the regular stamping cardstock, because it gives the card a little bit of body, especially if you want it to stand up. And I cut it to 4 1/4 by 11. So that's just halfway down the middle of an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet lengthways. So this is our card, and we're just going to put that on there, and I'm going to use dimensionals. So here they are. And once again, I'm going to put dimensionals on each of the corners and one in the middle. Okay. Oh, hi, Kathy. I'm sorry I couldn't see any comments until right now, so sorry to ignore, or it looked like I was ignoring you. Oh, I'm glad you like the card. Yeah, I really like this set. I think it's such a pretty one, and it's got so many different color combinations. You can make yellow cherries, you can make pinkish cherries, like cherries come in so many colors. You can make dark red cherries, you can make these bright red cherries. I just think there's so many possibilities with this one. Okay, and now what we are going to do is we're going to embellish. So let me just grab my embellishments here. Oops, that was a die falling on the floor. I'll just pick that up. There we go. So what I'm using to embellish is these new adhesive backed solid gems. So they come in a number of different colors. And this is the new Lemon Lolly. This is Boho Blue. And this is the, I believe it's Copper Clay. But actually, it goes really well with Pecan Pie as well. And so I'm going to use those ones. So I'm going to follow the example I had on my other card. So I put a large one there and a medium-sized one here. And then I put a large one down here as well. So that's what I'm going to do again, just kind of to accentuate that word sweet. Oh, Kathy, you've seen the cherries as blueberries. Yes, that would be very interesting to see what that turned out like. Good idea. Okay, and so that is the end of the card. So it's really not a complicated card. If you didn't want to do all this stamping, you could simply use cardstock without stamping, put colored cardstock in, and punch out your cherries that way. And that would save you quite a bit of time as well. But I really like the simplicity of it, and I hope that you enjoyed this demonstration of these artistic mix decorative masks. So these are something that have been, I think, largely overlooked in the catalog, and they just have beautiful patterns. I really like this one too. I haven't tried that one yet, but it's very nice. And then there's a floral one, as well as this kind of hatched background. So thank you very much for joining me today. Again, I will have all of the links up with my host code, how to shop with me, all of my classes, which close at the end of the week. Online classes available across Canada. And I will have all of the instructions and everything else available for this card later today. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderfully crafty week. Bye for now.